Alexandra. Come on, today's blue day, so we gotta give it a try. Now let me check something. Alexandra. Okay. I guess you're not here at the moment, so. Tune in. The Backyard Party presents the Real World Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. Right here's your host, JMX36, and our special guest, Jacob IU. And all latest alliance, but. Is that my phone right there?
What's up, JJ Everyday? The man behind the
All right.
in the front of the screen.
Hello, Alexandra, are you there? Who is that?
How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? That's fine. That's what they say. How are you? Such a nine.
Juju.
Oh, that's Juju. Say, how are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's see what's happening here. We just chilling. Know what I mean? We just.
You already ready?
It's still loud. Hey, look, you must be waiting on Alexandria to come on because you just got up.
I'm here.
Hey. That was Juju. Oh, empty chair.
Tune in. The Backyard Party is presenting the Real World Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. Right here is your host, JMX36,
Look at
and our
him
special
coming
guest,
in.
Alexandra Blockton.
Looking like a cartoon
Hey,
cat.
Alexandra.
Hi, let me turn my camera on.
Oh,
It was weird.
like okay, adjust. Know what I mean?
I tried to get on last night. I fell asleep.
Hey, you're good. I was just asleep right now.
Was
I was dreaming too. Like I wasn't even about to get up.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You know, I get up.
I've been receiving
I
emails.
do
but
this.
Sunday really threw me off. My son was in a real bad car accident.
Yeah. So what happened with that?
I don't live in St. Louis. I live in Illinois, right?
Okay.
So I get a call on my messenger. No, I get a message first. It say mom, but it's spelled wrong. It's from my son. And I'm like, hold on, he don't even talk like this. You know what I mean? Man, his face popped up on the messenger thing. He was like, Mom, I'm in the hospital. His whole face was bloody. I'm like, what happened? He said, I can't remember nothing. I just woke up and I'm in the hospital. So I'm like, I instantly get to panicking. You know what I mean? I'm like, where you at? He like, I'm in St. Louis. I don't know nothing about over there in Missouri. So I call he's my educational mentor now. I call my mentor and I'm like, my son in the hospital and stuff and everything. So he calmed me down on the phone and stuff. He was like, first, Alexandra, you got to see what hospital he's actually at to know what's going on. So
now she's getting some advice on what to do. So what do you do?
I called back on Messenger, tried to get a nurse on the phone. Then they said the name of the hospital, so I got that information, called him back, panicking on the phone with him until he got a ride to come and get me, and I went and picked him up. Thank God that he got released, but it was him and two of his friends in the car. The car flipped over in the air twice.
Man, that's a rough ride. He's blessed, fortunate to still have breath. And we are grateful for that.
him and his friends are glad to be alive. My son is 6'3". You seen how, I don't know if you've seen his height, but he's really tall. He was flipped from the passenger side all the way under the back seat. He's thankful to have no broken bones. He only had a busted lip and scratches on his face. One of his friends got a broken leg, and the other one, their back and ribs is messed up.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, I don't know if it was God covering them. I don't know what it was, but the Lord was with my child Sunday. The Lord was definitely with him to walk out with, and his face was bloody. But by the time I got to the hospital, he said he cleaned his face off. But he got like scratches. You can tell like scratches, maybe like the glass or something. And then his bottom lip is real swole, and his nose was busted and everything. He could not remember nothing. He couldn't even tell me the name of his friend that he was with. That's how bad he got knocked out, until his friend sent a picture of the car to his phone, and then it started, gradually coming back to him. But he said, "Mama, I'm not lying. Mama, I don't know. I don't know who I don't know what's going on." And I guess a concussion can do that to somebody.
Damn. Well, at least he's alive.
I'm glad that Julian, I freaked out. I'm like, damn, I can't afford to lose no more family members. You know what I mean? Like close to me, and they're my only child. So yesterday, my boss, she just told me to take yesterday off. So I kind of just relaxed my mind and stuff yesterday, to be honest.
And it's important to think about that, like we definitely want to be conscious of our state is at our space, our mental space. Like, you want to make sure that you're in the right mood, that you're able to handle certain news. And sometimes it takes visualizing negative experiences in order to cushion the emotions that could be felt as a result of negatively visualizing situations between you and loved ones. So, but it's important to make time for that if you have the energy and attention to. Because what that'll do is it'll allow you to, in the moment, be more at ease and more likely to smoothly go through the experience with minimal disruptions. Otherwise, if you are in an anxious state, panicked state, that may cause you to make poor decisions. Now, luckily, Alexandra, she called up Pimento, bam, bam, bam. She gave him the instructions. She's just following through like a machine, bang, bang, bang. Everything is looking good. So it looks like, the disruptions were minimal in that respect. But, it's not a good feeling. It takes energy to be in fear, that was a very dangerous moment for that family, for Alexandra's family. Things could have been a crossroad, and that's what she's alluding to now, that she doesn't want to lose another loved one. I don't remember the specific words, I can't afford to lose, but that those words are important, because then from that perspective is where then you can kind of mentally prepare, not because you want that to happen or anything else, but you want to be able to understand what is that sensation. And it's a personal thing. It's like optional. It's just for certain personalities, negative visualization works.
Honest with you. And then I got the feeling better like late last night. So I said, I'm gonna stay up so I can talk with Julian and let him know what's going on and stuff. And I ended up dozing back off, falling asleep. So I said, I can't keep doing this. I said, let me message him to see if we can come on at least 30 minutes early. So I'm just thankful and glad to be over that hump, to be honest with you, because it was just a lot racing through my head. And then the fact that my father is deceased, but his birthday is coming up Saturday. So it's like, I got that on my mind. Then but yesterday I was able to just meditate and just relax.
Meditate, relax, reset, clear your mind. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's about resetting. You reset, clear your mind. You start at zero, at no intention, or the intention to form character, form what character? The character of who's the greatest, who do you know? And then imitate that, or create your own who, but be careful, because that's the journey. And the creation of your own who can take you in the dark area, in the dark places, as much as they could take you in the light places. And your ego got to be correct. If your ego is not correct, meaning if your desires are not in check, if your desires are controlling your movements and thoughts and actions, yeah.
Oh wow, that's a big deal, man. That's rough. But
I've been checking on him and stuff. He said he's fine. He said he's not in no pain. He said he just couldn't remember nothing.
Damn. That's rough.
So I'm just thinking about him like being in that car and the car flipping over in the air twice off the highway into a ditch.
That's rough. But it's rough for you as a parent.
To me, it's rough because the simple fact is, I know he's a teen and his friends, but he has not been getting in any trouble with his friends that he hang with and stuff. And he mentioned to me before they'll go over there to St. Louis to the mall, and he's actually come back home. You know, like he got his Christmas money from his dad. He went out. Have been going back and forth to the mall and like hanging out with his girlfriend. So like, I'm not. He's 18. He lives with me. I'm not gonna stop him from doing that because he's not getting in any trouble.
Yeah, this is just life happenings, man. It's just you can't live afraid of that. So you got to keep living.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's just you don't want it to happen to you or your child.
Right.
You know, I've been in my share of car wrecks, and they've been rough as well. But you know, one thing is going through it yourself, but I can only imagine my mom. Like my mom's had to deal with a lot of phone calls, and it'd be messing with her. So that's why I haven't experienced that with my children. You know, like,
I can imagine how your mother feel though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From like a mother point of view, I can definitely imagine how she feels.
And like one of the worst accidents, you know, we kept a secret from her, and she took that personally. She didn't like that because she was out of the country, but we didn't want to worry her about it, so we kept it a secret, and that really messed with her. She didn't like that. But yeah, it's rough. You know, as a parent, I haven't been through that. You know, we've been through that.
So is that cool or not? Like, you tell me that, because I don't know that I would want that. I would want to know. I would want to know, and I would want to, you know, be supportive to the best of my ability. But yeah, so basically, I was in a car wreck. That's when I fell asleep driving, and I went from one job to another job, from a day job to a night job to school, and I had been drinking energy drinks that I guess confused my body, made me think I had more energy than I did, and ultimately I fell asleep driving, hit a telephone pole. I'll maybe tell the story in another situation in more depth. But yeah, so my face kind of came off. They had to get a plastic surgeon, skip. But my mom was never told about it till weeks after. I didn't have any broken bones or any internal organ issues or anything like that. However, my face was deformed. And we just decided, and I don't know, I'm saying I don't remember the details, but it was decided not to share that with my mom until everything was, you know, until it was healed better and etc. But yeah, she took that real rough. She didn't appreciate that. As a mom, as a parent, she felt like she should have been told, and she wanted to make she would have wanted to make herself available, meaning she would have wanted to come back and be there with me throughout the process of healing and recovery. But she wasn't given that opportunity, and she didn't really like that. So, how do you feel about that? Like, incorrect? How would you handle it?
That in one of Raymond's girlfriends, you know, that the ending was different. It was a bad ending. That was psychologically rough as well, because
By bad ending, I mean it's not the ending that anyone in this material world wants. Meaning, like, I value life. I am grateful to be alive, and I believe that others ought to also have the opportunity to experience life. And if they may not be so happy, but at least they can live another day, that may be an opportunity for them to experience what they want to experience. Maybe they don't want to be all the way happy, but either way, I value life. So that's why I said that.
I bet it was.
there's a, you know, you expect people of older ages to like not be here. You know, you don't expect someone young to like get caught up like that. But that's how life is, you know. He's blessed to be alive, because it's like, it's one of those things. When it's your day, it's your day, and it's not your day, it's not your day.
Not your day. It's not your
And I'm not ready. I mean, like, I'm not ready.
Right? And nobody's ready. Nobody want to hear that. Nobody want to go through that, you know. And then I feel for the parents of the other children, man, a broken back. Oh my God, broken leg.
Now, some may say that the goal would be to get ready. Like, that's the goal of life, is to get ready for departure. Like, it's like, yo, we about to board this plane and we about to head to the next level. So you prepare, you get your bags, you get your ticket, you know, you choose the day and you do the works, right? So in some ways, that's what's going on here. Like, we choose this body so that we can get to the next level, and in the process, like we're experiencing it, boom, boom. We should be getting ready. We should be getting ready for departure, meaning we should be experiencing ease, making amends to those that we have hurt. Forgiving others, forgiving ourselves. It's like clearing ourselves so that at departure we have no thoughts. It's to have an absence of thoughts at departure. And when I say by thoughts, I mean an absence of desire, and as a result of a sensation of fulfillment, not because you're not able to anymore or any other reason, but because you feel so fulfilled that everything is bonus time. And then when you're on bonus time, when you're on over extra free time, then you experience life different. It's like experiencing minus the suffering. And that's when you can do negative visualizations, and be at ease, and prepare yourself for departure. Prepare yourself for the departure of others, because some people, when they're choosing their departure date, they choose it closer than others, and then you forget when you're born. You forget. Look, you forgot. So here we all do the departure. Now maybe we don't want to cash in that ticket. Well, that is the mission and work of others. Can we treat the body so good? Can we be so conscious of our movements, our expressions, and our exposures? Can we be conscious of me, our movements, expressions, and exposures? Can we be so conscious that we don't use up more energy than we can gain in a day? Like that can we get ourselves to a surplus of energy where we can still rest? Can we be with good posture? Can we be at ease physically? Can we live longer than what we're? Some people are into that, and then some people pursue that through the outside, meaning like through pills, through injections, through like food. I guess food is I guess these are exposures. So, and then some people are open to creative exposures, man-made substances and powders and potions, in the effort to live longer. So as you prepare for departure, for some people that becomes a proactive approach to departing, so that you minimize the damage done in the process, so that it is easier to get on board and make the flight. So it is easier for you to depart.
His back, his ribs messed up. I'm like
back is the worst. I be telling people I don't be wishing that on nobody. Like I've been.
I don't wish it on nobody.
I've been recovering off of a back injury, and I'm like, that wasn't even a car wreck. That was just me like working out injury. Like imagine like a car wreck back injury. Oh my God.
But I'm thinking to myself, as tall as my son is, getting thrown from the front seat, 6'3", and getting found balled up under the back seat, that's probably what protected him.
He probably didn't see it coming, and that's usually a good thing. So he probably was relaxed when it happened. So his body just went with the motions. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like if you get tense or whatever and you try to resist it, I think that's when people can get, you can get hurt no matter what.
Right, but you can be more prone to being hurt if you try to resist it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but I'm thankful. I'm so thankful. I'm over that hump, Julian. Like I've had yesterday, I just really just relaxed my mind. Just took time out to relax. My boss, she just texted me. She said, just take the day off and just, because that first night, Sunday night, even when I got him home from the hospital, I didn't get no sleep.
Nah. And then, it's like in the same way he's been traumatized, you've been traumatized too. Like, because he might think twice before he go to St. Louis again, gets in the car and going like, it takes a while to get that out your head,
Mm-hmm. And then being with, I know his friends, typically younger drivers do have car accidents and stuff like that. And I just want him to, yeah, that's true. But I just want him to just be, just cautious, when you're riding with somebody, not trying to tell them how to drive and stuff, but pay attention to your surroundings. Be more, to pay attention. So
yeah, and it's one of those things like not having the seatbelt could have saved them too. Like sometimes you can be like, well, the seatbelt saves them, and sometimes it don't. So
and that one with the car flipping over in the air twice, I'm thankful he didn't have a seatbelt on at the same time, because if he would have had a seatbelt on, they probably would have wrapped around his neck or something.
Yeah, who knows? Or he could have been in a position that then the way the car crushed, it could have like
broke his neck or something.
Yeah, so it's like you never want. I mean, fortunately, he's alive, and we don't got to get caught up in the what if. So it's all good. But it's definitely a moment of reflection. Like, so at work, now at least I've heard it at least once and maybe twice, and people probably keep it to themselves. they say that like I'll say it about myself too, that I'm like a passive leader. Like I'm passive. Like I'm not aggressive. I'm not like I go with the flow. I allow things to happen. You know, sometimes people would wish that I was a little bit more direct, more forward.
Well, to me, from my opinion, my personal opinion from working with you, I would say that you are the type of leader that when you're working with the individual, you want to let them find their passion and motivate them for what they're good at, what their strengths, and help them build their weaknesses.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
And my strategy, because like,
Yep.
so you know that definitely correct. And then some people, like some adults, would want me as the leader to put pressure on the student or the teenager.
Pressure is synonymous with suffering, right? But just we don't really want like to make those associations, because when we can't handle the pressure, then it starts to cause sensations that are not so pleasant. So that's the idea, is like I'm the kind of leader that doesn't want to be another pressure point. You know, if anything, I want to help relieve pressure, and that looks different for different people depending in the season that they're in. But these are important conversations because, look, as we talk about departure, and negatively visualizing yourself in that position, it makes you pause and wonder: is it worth the energy to put into creating pressure to someone who can benefit from ease? Now, there are people that may need pressure and they may want pressure, but then you have to get consent. And then the way you get consent is by defining what they're interested in and being able to expose them to that and have them put energy or attention on that. But that's the work. That's the work. And it's getting consent. I think I'll
To
continue.
get things done, you know. But from my perspective, like, you know, I've been in a bunch of wrecks, and you know that the my son's girlfriend incident, you know, is pretty fresh, and then other incidents,
Pretty new.
you know, caused me to like really sit with that. And it's like, so what's the point, right? Like, imagine being strict on your child, and then all of a sudden they ain't here. You know what I mean? And having all that, you know, what they call bad blood, or having all that, you know, all these fights. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. Like, if something would have happened that was more serious, it does. Or if anything, you start to regret all those moments that you was in an argument. Like, you know, you feel like regret. And then it's like, well, why go through that, and just be patient and be loving, be caring, be supportive, you know, to the best of your ability, and then just hope that you can inspire them over time to make better choices.
And if you don't experience regret, then you might become offensive and address or give attention to the character of the person that departed, to put blame on them. And by blame is the assign responsibility to them for A, B, C, D, E, F, G actions. If I'm saying that's another possibility, if not regret. And then they both produce negative feelings as a result.
But in the here and now, yeah, I'm gonna be passive, you know, and by passive, I mean, like, I'm not gonna push or force nobody into doing something, like, because like,
So push, force versus guiding. Guiding is more like showing boundaries, but then who creates the boundaries? Because we're born with in a world without boundaries. All the boundaries are man-made. There, whether it's state boundaries, whether it's the physical space boundaries, like up until the point of contact, there are no natural boundaries, and I guess you can say rivers and mountains create boundaries. But I'm speaking in terms of boundaries, like when you're guiding someone, you know, it's like they have to show you where they want to go. Otherwise, you're going to guide them into a place where you may want to take them, which may not be where they want to go. You know, and then there's different paths. So it's like, which path do you take? You know, and then what does that mean? So some people create stories about paths, and if the story doesn't allow you to make it to the end of the path in the way that you want to, then maybe that's not the best story, or maybe your interpretation of that story isn't the best interpretation of that story. So a question that would come up from this, from what I'm saying, is like, so what's the path that you've chosen? Like if you're a leader, you're working. So what path do you want? Where do you want to go? And then the guiding is showing. It's not necessarily pushing or coercing. However, that may be very beneficial to individuals at one point or another, and that's where you make those judgment calls on site in the moment. Because right now we're just talking, and we could talk and talk, and that doesn't change the reality of the impact that we actually have when we interact or communicate with the world, whether it's like this via some sort of social media platform or in real life directly, in the flesh. But those are just some points to consider if you're in leadership. It's like, because then it's like the destination is the departure. So how are we preparing each other for departure? Are we going to create some pressure to have us focus on illusions? And I call them illusions, but when I say an illusion, I mean the mainstream narrative, the American dream, and then that has shifted because it's become a nightmare of some sort with all the changes that are going through, that the world is going through, whether it's in the medical world, whether it's in the political world, educational world, financial world. Yeah.
Nothing's really worth it, like there isn't one thing that got to get done today or tomorrow or next week or even next year that has to happen. Like, for instance, you can get your education when you get older. Like there's no rule that says you have to have it when you're young. So then why put a pressure?
And I'm a living proof of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you went and got your life experiences. And
now I feel like, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like I have experienced life experiences. I have worked so many years within the hospitality field, but my work experience in my life, for my resume and stuff, all plays a huge role for me now, because either way you have education, no matter what, you're still going to need some work experience to go along with it. That's why individuals have to go into internships and stuff, but those are still not even promised to college students. Those are not promised.
And now you're ready to learn. Like when you were younger, you probably wasn't ready to learn. Like now, now, like for instance, imagine if you would have tried to like pursue your GED.
Ready to learn. Let's define that. Now you're ready to give attention with the intention of grasping all the material that's being given to you. Boom, like that.
Just like 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't have been so committed or dedicated as you are today. Like today, boom, you're just knocking them out, bam, 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 you're just getting them done. 10 years ago, you may, your son was younger, you may have had more distractions. Like, it's like, in my opinion, there's like no right or wrong time to do anything. So it's like in the here and now, if you're in a leadership position, how can you be so?
What's the best time is being in the right place at the right time, and the way to get there is when you just flowing. When you just flowing, flowing.
Supportive of the person that you're leading, that you're managing. Rather than make them feel bad, let's make them feel good. And people can disagree with that because they think, well, you got to show tough love, but it's not worth it, man. Like you can go do tough love, that ain't worth it.
You can do tough love, you know what I'm saying? You can do tough love, but like I think each person has his own. But like the way that you come off, like you're gonna always keep the people that you work with around you in good company and stuff, and always look up to you because you're helping them find what motivates them in life. You helping them. Okay, this is your strengths. Okay, you good at this. You keep doing this and this and this right here.
Right.
Okay, now this is your weakness right here, Alexandra. Okay, this is something we're gonna work on this. We're gonna get you together on this. But right over here, you keep working on it, no matter what it is you want to do.
Yeah. And like a lot of people can take happiness for granted. Like there's people out there that maybe their primary focus should be being happy or hanging out, like with teens. Man, they've been in school all day. And I get it. They've been in school all day. Who want to go from school to more school? And then it's like they let me build trust. Let me build a relationship with them. And so I'm grateful to the way that I'm relating to the teens I got now because we're going slow. Do I wish we were doing more leadership development stuff? Yes. But at the same time, that's me. I'm the one that likes that.
It's like you're trying to get to know them, but you're also trying to get to know what works best.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be myself at work as well. So I'm grateful for the leadership to allow me to connect with the young people in the way that I am connecting, because ultimately I've been given the ability to connect with them and build a program how I see fit. So I'm very grateful for the leadership at work.
best for everyone.
Yeah.
Which can probably take some time. And I told myself, I said, I'm not going to rush the fact coming on with Julian students, because at least by this time, it's still giving me enough time to gain knowledge, get myself equipped with the facilitations that we do. It gets me more experience. So when I am able to start talking to them and present knowledge to them, and present material to them and stuff, I'll be well trained. So I'm just looking at it as like, okay, it's more time for me to get myself together.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, definitely. So everything works itself out. This is a challenging experience for you to go through, but in the bigger picture, I think that trying to look for the silver lining, trying to look for the bright side to everything, trying to look for what we can learn from this situation. And for me, it just reinforces, like, number one, how fragile life is. It's like every day we just got to be grateful to be here, because this is a car accident that was unexpected. And it doesn't matter your age. Like, if a car accident is coming, it's coming. You know what I mean? No matter your age, no matter nothing.
And then some time after, then her purse was stolen out of her home. So imagine the pressure point that can create. It could create the perspective of a very unstable world where people can just come and go. And then I'm not even talking about what's happened in the past. Like, this is just life. And it's been challenging in that experience after experience. We're having to be forced with the presence of some emotion that we don't necessarily care for. But we've been put into that situation as a result of the unfolding of life.
When you're in the hospital after a wreck, your education is not important, your work history is not important, even your like your relationship with people, like maybe you guys aren't on good terms, that goes out the window too, because when someone's in a hurt position, you got to put that to the side. So it's like it just is, for me.
Now, you don't got to put anything to no side, but it would be wise to set your personal emotions or feelings or decisions, whatever, and bypass that and intend to connect.
For me, it's a reminder of, like, just do your best every day. I want to be Daddy. Important and memorable to everybody. Like, Daddy. I don't want to like have a negative feeling. So,
hey, Juju.
Say hi. Hi.
And it's important to note that this form of thinking isn't about avoiding negative feelings. More so, it's about experiencing the feelings that you want to feel. So if you want to feel negative feelings, then so be it. This isn't to suggest that you shouldn't, but this is to suggest that if you don't want those emotions, then you can make a decision to see what you're going through from a slightly different perspective, find the silver lining, there's different ways of saying that. So, and that would allow you to overcome that moment, and experience ease again. But life happens. And Alexandra's a warrior. And in warrior, it sounds like war, so let's delete that. Alexandra is a thriver. She's thriving. She's thriving despite the obstacles.
Jaden, can you come give Juju some water, please?
Despite the obstacles.
Juju been a little difficult some of these days.
Really? Juju, you been being difficult?
But it's all good, because it's like I get to practice what I preach. Yeah, and then put some in my mind too, please.
Okay.
It's like, because the thing even with that is like, am I gonna just allow him? Yeah, I'm gonna allow him. I'm gonna do my best to still continue, and I'm not gonna be like the old school parents. I'm just not, and people can think that's a weakness or whatever.
Right.
Like I said, I don't want to live with no regret.
What's the time pressure here too? It's like, he's just a baby. What are they supposed to learn to read by a certain time? Like, what is that? What makes sense about that? Like, what would be the okay? So what would be the like? Are they never? Are you afraid that they'll never learn to read? What's the time pressure situation here? Like, why do we want to have such mature conversations with such little ones that maybe aren't ready to handle it? But it's challenging because as adults, we are expected by society to conduct ourselves and behave in the way that everyone else behaves. There's a limit to the boundaries of how we do things. And education has been taught to us to look a certain way, and anything that doesn't look that way has been stigmatized. So non-structured homeschool, student-centered, project-based education seems too unfamiliar to most. And then to some, unless they listen to the way that it unfolds, the students' curiosity drives their education as you expose them to different experiences that will cause them to gravitate to the things that they like to do. And at the core, we're all artists. So teaching art is like the first instruction. And that's being useful with your hands, your words, your feet, or your body. If you can be useful with yourself, then everything else will fall into place. Because at least then you can survive and be in a state where you can begin to thrive.
And for me, nothing in life is that serious, you know. And by that I mean, it's like there's not really anything worth having a big argument over. And I'm not saying don't argue. Yeah, you can. There's a way of doing things, and yeah, you can make mistakes, and yeah, we can be rough sometimes. But in the bigger picture, I'd rather be allowable. I'd rather just kind of like be slow with gold. Go with Jaden. Go with Jaden. But yeah, you know, it's like. So like having to listen to this is just kind of like a reminder, you know, on what's important, you know, what's really important. And for me, that's like the relationships, more important than achievements. Like Juju, what are you doing? Okay, go. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people focus a lot of energy on their children's achievements. Oh, my kid's going to graduate from college, or is graduating from this, or got this job, which is good. It's good to be proud of those moments. But in my opinion, it's not worth putting those moments before your relationship. Like and it's hard to practice. It's really hard to practice. Like, you know, having a child that maybe isn't being productive is challenging to deal with, because you know how important it is to be productive to make it in this world. But it's like you got to balance it as a parent. It's challenging. You know, that's why I don't judge I live to practice, not to judge parents. And when I say judge, I guess I got to clarify that. Because I had a conversation with someone today and they said, you know, it's important to judge. And I think that maybe we just had different definitions is what I told her. Maybe our definitions are different. Because what I mean by not judging is like, I don't want to think that I'm superior to nobody else.
Like they're beneath you or something like that.
Yeah. I think that it's okay to observe, and you can have you can make an observation, and you can make statements about your observation. Like you can say, oh, that's not a good decision based on this, and that. That hurts them more than it helps them. But I don't think that's a judgment. If you're just making an observation, oh, that parent shouldn't be hitting their kids. But that doesn't mean that you're judging them. It means you're seeing that the parent's hitting their kid, and you see that their kid is not responding well to it. So that's probably something that shouldn't happen. Now, if I say he or she is a bad person for hitting their kids, I think that's the judgment. When you devalue a person based on their actions, you know. And I think that's where it comes, where the judgment part comes.
Now that's controversial, because essentially that's what we are expected to do. I mean, if someone does harsh crimes, should they not be judged for it? Now the question is, should they be called a bad person? And that's the debate, because, you know, it's like, are we inherently good? Are people inherently good? A lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people say, no, we're not inherently good. While some people may say, yes, we are inherently good. Now, what I could say is, when you see this little guy right here, when they're born, I just don't see nothing other than good. I see good. I see innocent. That's it. And then but over time, something happens. But I'd say that something that's happening is each other, not necessarily something that you're born with. But, you know, we're just talking here. And I'm just talking here. You don't gotta agree, but you could agree also, and that's cool too.
Comes in, and I don't think that we should be judging people or saying that people are inferior to us or less than based on their actions. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't hold them accountable. We can still hold them accountable for making poor choices, because you can make a bad decision and you should be punished for it. But it doesn't mean that you have to judge them. Like, so if someone commits murder, for instance, like, yeah, they deserve to get a punishment. They deserve to get a punishment, and sometimes that punishment should be life in prison. But does it mean that you're judging them and saying they're less of a person? They may have done an evil, at least in my opinion, they may have done an evil act, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil themselves, or that they're, and not to say that they're not people that can fall into that category of evil, but at least even with the evil person, I don't want to put myself above an evil person, because I know that, in my opinion, I don't necessarily believe that people are born evil.
Or another perspective is that we're all capable of evil. Given certain circumstances and life unfolding in a certain way, and we each have the potential to make very poor choices, and many of us do.
And I think that there are circumstances that results in that. So these are just, so people are a sum of their choices, but humans, in my opinion, have value just by being a human. And some of us go down a wrong path, just to use that word. Like we go down a trajectory, a pattern of living that results in harm to others. And I think we should be punished for that. But I don't want to go ahead and say that they are lesser people, because they can redeem themselves. They can ask for forgiveness. They should have an opportunity to be able to get the forgiveness of society and still pay the consequence. Like if you take someone's child,
and the forgiveness of themselves, which ultimately becomes the most challenging one to get, because if you can forgive yourself, then you can be good. You can be at ease. You'll work it out with society. But if you seek society to forgive you, then that's a bit more. You got to forgive yourself, and then be able to be in a position where whether they forgive, whether society forgives you or not, it doesn't affect you.
You should pay for that. But you should also be able to be forgiven, but you should also be able to pay your consequences, if that means life in prison, whatever. Like, I don't want to take away the consequences from a person who deserves consequences, but I think we don't have to make it a personal thing where then we feel like we're superior to that person. I guess is what I mean. I think that's where I say about judging. I think it's like if we're trying to behave as if we're superior to them. But yeah, it's, like, this is what life's about. It's challenging.
And the question is, the fact that I made this statement, is it possible for a person to feel that now they are superior to me because of my belief, and not wanting to be superior to someone who has done something very bad? It's possible. It's possible. Probable. It's probable. Possible. But that's the challenge. That's the challenge, is because then, man, like, so I gotta be lesser than because my life experiences make me think this way. I mean, you don't got to agree. You don't got to agree, but I guess I just can't pay attention to it. And that's ultimately what happens. We can't pay attention to the feedback that we're getting from the outside world, whether it's good or bad. We just got to do the work. Reset is the goal, form of the instructions, void is the work. We just got to do the work, Reset.
It's challenging. It's tough to hear that because, I could only imagine all the things that might have gone through your head. And
there was so much stuff going through my head, my mind. When I seen him with all that blood on his face, I just instantly freaked out. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know how serious it is. Like,
I didn't know nothing, but I'm like, hold on. I just instantly called my mentor, like, well, do you know which hospital? I'm like, no. He's like, have you spoken to someone, like the nurse, anybody at the hospital? I'm like, no. He was like, well, Alexandra, you got to at least just try to calm down for a few seconds to call back. Try to call your son on that messenger thing and see if anybody in his background or something. So that's what I did. He said, just get the name. Once you get the name, you can Google the rest. Yeah. So, and I ended up doing that. He said, just get a name. Don't even ask the address, just get a name and you Google the rest and call. And I did that. And then I called him back and stuff. And he kind of helped calm me down and kind of talk to me on the phone and stuff. But it was just, and I called him and I was like, I apologize.
That's called the confidant, not a comrade, not a constituent. Her mentor is a confidant. He was there when he was needed. He came through in the clutch, and he was able to move Alexandra from uneasiness to ease.
Apologize, for like freaking out. He's like, you ain't gotta apologize to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I'm just thankful to have good people like that in my corner, because other than that, I'm not really like close to nobody. You know what I'm saying? So
and is that's not something that you plan. Like, you don't sit here and be like, okay, who am I gonna call if this happens? You just go with the flow, go with your instinct. And
negative visualization, there's a season for that. There's a season for that.
Definitely, he was available. That's good that he was available to be able to help you. Because it could be chaotic, especially being he's in another town. Like, there's so much that goes into that. Man. But yeah, so like I said, in my opinion, the bigger lessons, like, so how after this happens, right? Like, so then how what can we learn from this? And for me, it's being a little bit more compassionate, being more understanding. Like, because imagine if you and him would have been on a fight or something.
Right, and I'm glad we had a good morning. Like, I had just we cleaned the house, we cooked, like we were just talking and chilling, and you know what I'm saying. So like we was in good spirits, and I've learned that in the past, like. Because a while back ago, he used to just do all types of things, just piss me off early in the morning, have me going, just running my mouth. But then by the time he leave out the door, I'll call his cell phone and be like, no, I apologize. Because as parents, we have to take responsibility for our actions and how we talk and things like that.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference, because my son is 18 years old and he'll still tell me he loved me and give me a hug in front of his friends, teachers. He don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll still do that. So
yeah. And ultimately that's important. And then, our children are smart. So like, they'll do what they got to do. you know, to keep on our good side, if anything, or maybe be a little bit lazy sometimes, or be whatever. But it's all good. We was kids too, you know, so it's all good. And like I'd rather just live with no regret, you know. I'd rather live with no regret and be patient about outcomes, be patient about achievements. You know, it's a long there's time to get things done. And for the here and now, let's have a good relationship. And let's focus on having a strong, good relationship. And just go from there. But it's tough to hear. It's tough to be in your position, you know, and have to hear those news. But I think this is important for parents to, like, you know, be able to listen to, because sometimes, you know, as parents, we can go hard on our kids because we want them to have a good future. But what does a good future mean? You know, what does that mean when there could be no future?
Go hard. So that means like we could cause pressure, cause stress for whatever reason. And, you know, we may not even want to take responsibility for the stress that we're causing, but having expectations creates stress, you know. And I'm not saying have no expectations. I'm just saying even the at the baseline, having an expectation creates the stress on the person that has to make that, like, meet that goal, meet your expectation. So,
Like all this energy that we spend on trying to, like, you know, have children like work on these specific skills so that they can do this when they become adults, you know. But you got to balance it, because you don't want to lose too much of today thinking about tomorrow. You want to lose just the right amount of today for tomorrow. And then there's a lot of people, adults, and a lot of kids that they're giving too much of today. You know, they're suffering too much today for a tomorrow that's not promised. You know, and it's like you got to walk that delicate line. Like you got to walk that line where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm investing in my future by like reading. You know, I'm investing in my future by studying, but then I'm also investing in my now by hanging out with my friends, by hanging out with people I care about, with family. So it's like a balance. And I'm talking to myself as well. Like, you know, I feel like I wish I would be talking more to my family, and I feel kind of stuck because it's like I got a lot going on. And to make that first call, you know, I talk to my brother some, but there's like some cousins.
right, what I mean by stuck, I mean paused, like to be on pause. So in order to get that on play, I feel that I need to have what I'm currently handling at ease. Like I need to.
I used to talk to a lot that I haven't been talking. You know, the guy got some friends I used to talk to a lot that I haven't been talking. But it's like, how can I still get the work I got to get done today and still be able to have a relationship? So then I settle for being able to see how people are doing on social media, like Facebook and Instagram. So it's like, that's one of the positives, is that I get to see how people are doing. But then the negative is that I'm not talking to them like this way me and you are talking. So Juju, what happened? Okay.
Now, when I start going live,
Having a
that I believe that will eliminate that, and that would be my effort to connect again, because I'll go live and then they can see me and then we could talk, and you know, and that solves for that. So these recordings at some point will stop, and then I'll start going live, and you know, it'll look a little different at some point. And when it looks different, that means I'll be engaging and interacting with friends and family in the way that I would like again. And I'm giving that up today for tomorrow, and that's a risk. Like, you know, we all risk things or sacrifice. So right now, my relationship with friends and family has been sacrificed. But I hope to restore those relationships, and going live and making myself available will be my attempt to do just that.
meltdown. So man, that's rough to hear. Hopefully he's gonna be all good, and you know, he'll be able to move on from it, and you know, it'll. I guess this is like there could be a lot of positives that come from it, you know, because it's still fresh. It's still brand new, because it's only Wednesday, so you know, at some point when he has a moment to reflect, and he may not reflect till a couple years, but whenever he's ready to reflect, it'll. You know, when you're in a position when you almost not here no more, it makes you look at life different. You know, what's up? Okay, go tell Jaden. Yeah, you know, like, because now it might adjust how he thinks about the decisions that he makes, because he's like, well, let me just do it today rather than just wait till tomorrow. Okay. So, man, that's tough, Alexandra.
Yeah, but I feel much better than I did today, but it's still gonna cross my mind how much it's gonna cross.
And then the toughness is the amount of force it takes to overcome this resistance. So this is a resistance, a disruption to her momentum. So for a day plus the residual effects, she's going to be distracted from what she was already doing. So this is a disruptor of momentum, and that makes it tough.
My mind, like I'm not for sure, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I'm not like Sunday, then Monday morning, I woke up, I barely had any rest. Like it was tough for me.
Okay. Well, we don't got to hang out here much longer. We could just call it a night.
Okay, it's up to you. Now tomorrow, what did you have in mind? I'm still I haven't been in my book because you know Monday I was off, so I just kind of relaxed my mind. But Race for Profit, I'm still reading. We could do a discussion on that, kind of like how far I'm gone. Do you have anything in mind? I know last week we kind of covered followership and everything, and I got all those notes. I actually need to send you those notes too.
Yeah, so I just been going with the flow. I've been talking about leadership and followership,
Okay.
motivation.
Motivation tomorrow, that would be something really good.
Okay, we can touch on motivation. I've been talking about force, flow. Yeah, I just kind of been freestyling, talking about all these aspects and elements that play a role into leadership and followership. So we can talk about motivation, but because everything's connected. So I'll just come out and I'll just talk and I'll try to connect the dots. But when I'm by myself, I don't really tell many stories, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather save stories for when you're online.
Okay.
Other people online. But yeah, I'll just.
I got it for us.
It's just that.
Yeah. If you could log on, it'll be 10:30 my time. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
So
I didn't mean to disturb you, wake you up.
No, I'm gonna get up anyway.
I can't keep missing being on there meeting with him. I said because I'm ready to get on, but I'm waking up like at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning. I'm looking like, oh my God, I fell asleep sitting up here waiting to go in there. I'm like, I gotta message Julius so I can let him know.
And then I've been up till like 3:00 in the morning after I do the lives, but not today. Today I'm gonna try to go back to sleep.
Okay. Well, I got this wrote down, and then tomorrow I'm gonna take some notes out of this book I'm reading, and then we can kind of touch bases and just kind of freestyle off of everything else that align with like leadership and followership.
For sure. All right. Good.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Your son, I said, what's up?
Okay, I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
JJ, day.
Go ahead. Let's tune it out.
Now,
Monkeys do. Monkeys don't have no bed. I ain't got no bed. You gotta figure out the floor.
My solution is I'll get a tent and plug the sheets and pillows.
to now. The Black Hair Party has presented The We'll Talk To, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. That was your host, JRX36, and our special guest, Alexander Blockton. We will see you tomorrow night. When we'll see you tomorrow night then? Maybe it's 12 a.m. Eastern, maybe sooner. We'll see you then. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Deuces.